Jai Gurudev and Hari Om. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. We'll just go through this previous verse, the doer of action, and then we'll go on. The verse reads, Prakrite kriyamanani gunaih karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. That is, actions are performed in various ways by the gunas of Prakriti, the body, mind, and senses. Deluded by the notion, by the I notion, one thinks, I am the doer. Prakriti means cause, that out of which all things come, the potential cause of anything. There are two aspects to an individual. Purusha, meaning Atma, the self, Chaitanya, consciousness, and Prakriti, also called Avidya or Maya. Your body, mind, and senses are modifications or vikaras, creations born of Prakriti, which depends entirely on the Purusha, the Vastu, the thing to be understood. Prakriti being the cause, anything born of it is called Prakriti Vikara or Prakriti Guna, meaning modification. The word guna has to be seen in its proper context in order to understand its meaning because it has many meanings. It can be any simple attribute, visheshana, like the yellow in a yellow flower. Any adjective is a guna. Guna is also a technical term for sattva, rajas, and tamas, which indicate certain conditions of the mind as well as the constituents of maya or avidya. A virtue is also called guna. For example, a person of ethics, one who has a good heart and stately qualities, is called gunavan. Another meaning of guna is not. And in Sanskrit grammar, guna is one of the many technical names given by Panini. It indicates the vowel a and the diphthongs e and o. Guna is also a particular modification, vikara. In this verse, we have prakritehi gunaihi, by the modification of prakriti, meaning by the mind, senses, and physical body. All three are called prakriti gunas. In the technical language of Sanskrit, this body, mind, sense complex is called karya karana sanghata. We have already seen that the physical body is karya and the mind, senses, and prana are karana. The assemblage, sanghata, of the physical body, mind, and senses is called guna here, being the modification of gunas of the prakriti. All actions are performed by these prakriti gunas, the physical limbs, mind, and senses alone. Actions are performed in various ways based on various sources of knowledge for the purpose of achieving various ends. Thus, there are actions enjoined by the Veda, Vaidika karma, and all other activities, Laukika karma. All types of activity are covered here, whether they are pursuits meant for gaining knowledge or for gaining various other results here or in the hereafter. So basically, the sum total of all actions put together, Laukika and Vaidika, are performed by the Prakriti gunas, the modifications of Prakriti. Prakriti also has, guna also has the meaning of, it's an adjective, modification. It is also a knot. It is considered a knot. That is what we'll see now. And it is also linked to sattva, rajas, tamo gunas, the state of our mind. And it also means virtue. Someone who has a lot of virtues is called gunavan. The doer of action. The person who thinks he or she is doer of these various actions is referred to in this verse as ahankara vimudhatma, meaning one who is deluded by the notions he or she has about the I, the Atma. The I notion or I sense has all the attributes. When you say, I am so and so, the karya, the physical body, the karana, the mind and senses, are an integral part of your ahankara alone. The person has become deluded, vimudha, in many ways. In fact, the delusion is multifaceted. One delusion with varieties of nuances, one big knot with innumerable knots within knots. These knots are the varieties of problems and notions that a person has. If you imagine Atma to be just waves, as in I'm just giving this thought just came. If it is just waves and pure like an ocean, and the Prakriti which is born of Purusha is the waves. If you consider the waves as a knot, so all the body, mind, senses are nothing but the waves. It is as silly as the wave thinking that the wave is the doer, when actually it is the ocean which is driving the Prakriti to do, or the ocean is the cause for the is the basis for the Prakriti. Prakriti is the waves and all the different waves that crop up. So if you consider one big knot, that is the Prakriti, and from the Prakriti you get all the other various knots. Like I'm the physical body, I'm the mind and the senses, I'm so and so, I'm good, I'm not good. That ahankara is one big knot, and from that all the other knots come. Like how Rajima would call the Adishesha with 1,000 heads. Ahankara is got those 1,000 heads. Every aspect, whenever you say I, the small I, of course, is one of these knots manifest. Ahankara implies many notions, beginning with I am mortal. The I notion is connected to hundreds of notions about oneself. For example, religious notions are what brands one as religious. Then the person says he or she belongs to this or that religion, and so on. This is just one of the innumerable problems brought about by notions. All such notions are about this I and are expressed by this I. The ahankara itself includes all these notions. The starting point for ahankara is the karya karana sanghata, the body mind sense complex, centered on which is the conclusion I am as good as this body, mind, and senses. And over a period of years, we keep gathering a variety of notions about this I. No baby thinks I am white or black, Caucasian or Negroid. Only afterwards, as the child grows up, does he or she slowly begin to pick up such notions. One's whole life is spent gathering more and more notions about oneself, and this is what is meant when it is said his mind is deluded, vimudha. So it gets very knotted up. A baby's mind is like the ocean. It's pure. There is no doership for a baby. That is why Gurudev keeps saying, come back. He says, I'm a child who refuses to grow up because he's in that innocence. The Vimudhatma, the one whose mind is deluded in 100 different ways by the Ahankara, thinks that he or she is a doer, Aham Karta, even though it is the physical body, mind, and senses that perform the actions. The person is the one who is aware of all the actions. In other words, the one who lights them up. He or she knows what does what, but at the same time is still able to think, I am the doer. This, therefore, is no ordinary avidya. It is not ignorance of an object or of a discipline of knowledge. It is self-delusion. That is such a strong thing. It's a very revealing thing. You are Atma, but because you're caught up in the Prakriti gunas, because of this big avidya, this not ordinary avidya, extraordinary avidya, which is ignorance of the self. Because the self is not clear, the obvious is not at all obvious. On the other hand, one who knows the Atma, the Atmavit or the Jnani, does not take oneself to be the Karta, as we shall see in the next verse. To tell someone who looks upon himself or herself as the Karta that he or she is not the Karta will only confuse the person. Nothing is ever said in the Shastra to suggest that one should not do karma. The Shastra says you are not the doer and that this knowledge is moksha. You can live a life of renunciation or you can live a life of karma yoga. In either case, knowledge is moksha. This is what is said. Not doing karma is meaningless. To tell a person who thinks he or she is a karta not to do karma is meaningless. Even if someone does no karma, it does not mean that he or she is not doing karma. As long as the person is a karta, one's every move is a karma. Standing is a karma. Listening to someone is a karma. Everything becomes karma because the person thinks he or she is the karta. As long as this notion is there, the person will always be doing one thing or the other, thinking that he or she is the doer. If at all you are to teach such a person, you will have to try to make the person understand that he or she is a karta. This understanding is purely jnana and has nothing to do with doing or not doing karma. So the waves on the ocean can continue to rise and fall. The, the, the one thing that is required is that the wave to recognize that it is nothing but the ocean. That is all that it requires. And that is with knowledge. Krishna then explained why the wise are not attached to karma. Tattva-vittu mahabaho guna-karma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. Two, whereas mahabaho, O Arjuna, guna-karma vibhagayoho, of the distinction between the body, mind, sense, complex and action, tattva-vitt, knower of the truth, gunaha, senses, mind and the organs of action, guneshu, with reference to objects, vartante, engage themselves, iti matva, knowing this, na sajjate, is not bound. Whereas, O Arjuna, the knower of the truth, knowing the distinction between body, mind, sense, complex and action, knowing that the senses, mind and organs of action engage themselves with reference to their respective objects alone, is not bound. In this verse, Krishna contrasted the jnani with the ajnani mentioned in the previous verse. The ignorant person takes the body, mind, sense complex, karya karana sanghata, as oneself, and oneself to be the karya karana sanghata, thereby making no distinction between the two. This lack of discrimination is where individuality comes from, that which makes one seem unique and distinct. This is how the separation happens between me and the other. So this is the viveka that is actually required. Viveka is to see the truth and the real, distinguish the real from the unreal. The real here is the Atma, whereas the unreal is all the Karya Karana Sanghata. The Jnani, on the other hand, while taking the body, mind, sense complex as himself or herself, no doubt, does not take the self to be the body, mind, and senses. If the Jnani were not identified with the body, mind, sense complex in this way, talking, walking, seeing, hearing, and thinking would not be possible. Since the Jnani thinks, does actions, and so on, he or she also naturally has an ahankara. Here, the Karya Karana Sanghata Atma is being called the ahankara. So the only difference between the ahankara of a jnani and an ajnani is being given here. For an ajnani, he considers the ahankara to be the body, mind, sense complex. Whereas for the jnani, he knows that he is the Atma, and it is through the Atma that the Karya Karana Sanghata is working, and therefore that is the ahankara. He's a big I, basically. The small I versus the big I. That's what I think. If anyone wants to add to it, please go ahead.
Can you read one more time? It's a little confusing.
The Jnani on the other, see, I will read this one. In this verse, Krishna contrasted the Jnani with the Ajnani mentioned in the previous verse. The ignorant person takes the body.
Contrasted or comparing? I don't know.
Contrasted. Contrasted, comparing is the same, no?
No, not. It is opposite. Contrasted is opposite. And the comparison is...
okay.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, so one against the other. The ignorant person takes the body, mind, sense complex, Karya Karana Sanghata as oneself, and oneself to be the Karya Karana Sanghata, thereby making no distinction between the two. So he considers the Karya Karana Sanghata as the Atma and the Atma to be the Karya Karana Sangha. Atma meaning the I over here. Let's call it the I, Ahankara. This lack of discrimination is where individuality comes from, that which makes one seem unique and distinct. See, the Ajnani is in a self-deluded phase. So for him, the Atma, the I, is actually the Karya Karana Sanghata. Whereas the Jnani, on the other hand, while taking the body, mind, sense complex as himself or herself, no doubt, does not take the self to be the body, mind, and senses. If the Jnani were not identified with the body, mind, sense complex in this way, talking, walking, seeing, hearing, and thinking would not be possible. Since the Jnani thinks, does actions, and so on, he or she also naturally has an Ahankara. Here, the Karya Karana Sanghata Atma is being called the Ahankara. So we have the self and we have the Karya Karana Sanghata, which is born of Prakriti. For the Jnani, the self distinction is very clear. Although he considers the body, mind, sense complex to be himself or herself, that connection is there. Otherwise, he will not be able to do whatever he's doing. But he sees himself as the Atma. There is no self-delusion there. There is no, that discrimination is very clear. Whereas for an Ajnani, this distinction is not there. So there is this misconception, misapprehension, or the wrong knowledge that Atma is the body, mind, sense complex, and the body, mind, sense complex is the Atma.
For him, there is no Atma. Means,
yeah.
There is no Atma.
There is no...
means he feels that he is doing the work.
Yeah.
Therefore, that uniqueness comes.
If you consider
here,
yeah, go ahead.
In Jnani, he knows there is Atma, but he has that little part of it, Ahankara, to do his works. Otherwise, he cannot do the daily routine. He has to have that little bit Ahankara. But he knows that he is not that, but Atma. He is Atma. Okay. There's a very little difference there.
I don't know whether this is called the Lesha Avidya that the Jnani has, with using with, with which he is able to actually function as an individual. That very trace of Avidya is there. That is why that Ahankara is he's able to do things. I'm not sure whether
Ahankara is there, little bit. That little bit Ahankara is there. You know, you see, he says, self to be the body. No doubt does not take the self to be the body, mind, and sense. If the jnani were not identified with the body, mind, sense complex in this way, talking, walking, and that would be, that is little ahankara. Small mind, we can say.
If you consider the ocean wave analogy, the ajnani thinks he's the wave, whereas the jnani he knows he's the ocean, and he's seeing the waves go up and down, and he sees it's part of him, it's part of the ocean, but he lets the waves go up and down. That is why he's able to function, he's able to do everything. The nature of delusion. Thus, both the jnani and the ajnani have this ahankara. The difference between the two being that the jnani does not take the self to be karya karana sanghata, whereas the ajnani does, which is why there is samsara for him or her. Samsara is in the self for the self. Because the Atma is taken to be the karya karana sanghata Atma, there are individuals, each of whom is unique and distinct from every other individual. Thus, there is an as-though division and as-though duality Dvaita. The Shruti does not say there is Dvaita. It says only that there is as-though duality. Dvaitam iva bhavati. Wherever there is this as-though duality, there is death, mrityu, there is time, there is samsara. I'll read this paragraph one more time. Because the Atma is taken to be the Karya Karana Sanghata Atma, there are individuals, each of whom is unique and distinct from every other individual. Thus, there is an as-though division, an as-though duality Dvaita. The Shruti does not say there is Dvaita. It says only that there is as-though duality. Dvaitam iva bhavati. Wherever there is as-though duality, there is death, mrityu, there is time, and there is samsara. I don't know, the wave analogy is coming back here for me, wherein if there is the wave being there, it as though creates a duality between the ocean and the wave. It seems as though there are two, but they're not two, they are actually one. And because a wave has a birth, it also has death. So therefore there is death, there is time, and there is samsara.
Means jnani also dies. That is what it is here.
The physical body dies.
Body, that is what.
Dies. He does not die.
He does not, but that karya karana sangha, that will die. That Atma dies.
Duality, that is what dies. Jnani is referred. Yes.
Sorry. If that
we can say it disintegrates. It just disintegrates all the and gets dissolved into 5 elements. Instead of saying dies, we can say it disintegrates.
But isn't it the same? Either it would only be a play
the
of
first
words.
paragraph he does say, thus both the jnani and ajnani have ahankara. You see? The difference between the two being that jnani does not take the self to be karya karana sangha, whereas ajnani does take it. That he, ajnani, for him, there is no atma. So both have the ahankara. To go that ahankara, very, very tough.
And that is why the ajnani keeps coming back, cycle after cycle. In the samsara.
Jai Gurudev,
Yes.
Can you elaborate further on the ahankara of Jnani? like to what level of like precisely what type of ahankara a jnani has, up to what limit I am not able to.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
get your question. Even I'm trying to understand because I don't have a very clear idea of that. But what I have heard Nana or even Gurudev talk of is a jnani keeps a little bit of body consciousness. I think it's called lesha avidya. That just that trace of avidya, so that he can stay in his body. Otherwise, he, like for instance, Ramana Maharshi, when he went into the cave, when he was just about 11 or 12 years old, he did not have body consciousness. His body was being eaten up by insects and everything. So people had to go and bring him out of the cave. He then had a little bit of body consciousness for him to eat, drink, sleep, and do all the daily activities to maintain the body. So I think that ahankara, that lesha avidya, that is the ahankara that a jnani has. He is functioning from the level of Atma only. But he sees that all of this is part of the Atma, but he does not identify himself with the body, mind, sense complex. He's got that
So
knowledge.
he has to make a fine balance between the body requirements and like the path he is onto. He will he will be always in an alert. He'll always have an alert mind.
Or aware, we can say awareness.
More of awareness, sajagta.
Awareness, that is what.
Yeah.
Because if the Jnani feels that everything is one, everything is your Atma, my Atma, it's all one, he may not even eat. If somebody eats, he might feel the requirement is taken care of. But he has to distinguish between his body and my body. That's why he could take care of his own body. Otherwise, if everything is oneness, he may not feel the need to take care of his own body. And
Yeah, it is like if I cook, I use my kitchen for cooking and all. I can't say ki in my neighborhood, in the kitchen, everything is getting cooked. That's all. I think so that Vyavhar, Buddhi, and that we need to distinguish these two. Gurudev also says, no, there are two truths. I don't know, somebody can explain it.
Hari Om. I think the taking care of body by Jnani is can be compared to a traveler traveling on a horse. He takes care of the horse because he needs to reach the destination. He takes only that much care that is required to keep the horse alive and to take him through. Like how much you care for the ladder till you reach the top. How much you care to the care to take, and how much care you take of the boat. You don't decorate the boat. You don't make it like a palace because you are traveling by the boat from this corner of the river to the other bank, from this side to that side. You just get into the boat in whatever condition it is. You take enough care that it doesn't have a hole, or if it has a hole, you will repair it not because you love the boat, because you just need the boat to take you to the destination. That much care these people will take about the body. They don't take too much. That is what it is. Rio.
But correct, thank you for that example. But here, the jnani is already reached the shore, isn't it? He is already a jnani. The boat reaching the shore is his lifespan, the prarabdha, whatever prarabdha he has to exhaust that prarabdha. So
that is what I was.
as long as he's
Further.
alive, yeah, as long as he's alive in this physical body to exhaust his prarabdha, he takes care of the boat, like you said very correctly. Just enough care of the boat or his dress, or whatever, you can give any analogy there.
For that, he needs that little ahankara.
So he'll also live with a little detachment feeling also, like he's doing all his works, all related to body and his own duties, but with a sense of detachment inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the complete kind of awareness that I am what I am. This body is mine, but I am not the body. That kind of 100% feeling he will have, which means at some point of time, if he has to just drop the body at that moment, he will not think that, oh, I need this body, I have to still do that, do this, nothing, because he has already achieved something at just ek chitki mein bolte hain na, like that. And in one jiffy, he is ready to just drop the body and come out. That will be the state at the heart and the state at the mental level or at the thought level. But since they reside in the body, like how you clean your home in which you are at any moment, but the Jnani is ready to forego the entire home in a jiffy, whereas we are not. That is the difference. Hari Om.
There is no fear of death for him. Because see, death and time, this duality, as though duality, death comes in only when there is this as though duality. He's already in the Advaita Bhav there.
No,
So
the
he's not.
Jnani does not even call it a death. Okay, I'm shifting to a new location. Vasansi Jitani, like that.
I think there is no new location there, Prem. There is only one. There is no other there. It's only one.
Location means like wearing a new shirt, Pramara. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, it is said, no, like the Jirna Vastra you are.
Wearing a new vastra means again you are born. No, you are not born.
No, but the Jnani can take birth, like how Krishna
birth.
has taken birth out
By
of his
choice.
free
By
will.
choice.
Yeah. It is not because of Sanchita Karma or Prarabdha that he takes birth again, because there is no
Not
Sanchita
out
for
of
him at all.
ignorance. Yeah. Not out of ignorance.
Not out of ignorance. So he can dawn again another and then come. Yeah.
Or can remain just because experienced it. No, we say no. How many times go to the exhibition? I have seen that enough. Now I don't want to go again. So out of choice, if like with lot of compassion, if he wants to come back, then he has the choice. Whereas all of us, we are pushed into a regular routine kind of from one body to another body. It is all written what and how and where we will be taking the birth kind of. We are pushed into it.
People, they will have a choice whether to or
Your
not to
voice is
come,
not clear,
or
Prem.
when to come, or in what form to come. Is such people will have a choice whether to come or not to come. If yes, in what form to come, in which body to come, where to come, how long to stay, and when to go. Everything is at their choice.
Like Nana said, the birth of this Jnani depends on the collective, the samishti prayer of bhaktas. That is when an avatara comes, apparently. And I think that is one of the reasons also.
Yeah, even Gurudev says, no, मैं तुम लोगों के लिए आया हूँ.
The Jnani is referred to as Tattvavit in this verse. The suffix tva is added to a noun to convey its abstract sense, its essence. For example, the truth or essence of a pot, ghatasya tattvam, becomes ghatatva, ghatatva, potness. In English, the suffix ness is used in the same way. That is a pronoun and as such can stand for anything. That is a pronoun and as such can stand for anything. Thus, tattva refers to that which is the truth or essence of everything. Tasya bhavaha. The one who knows the truth about oneself, the world, and God is called tattvavit. And the one who does not know this truth is called a tattvavit. In this verse, tattvavit refers to one who knows the truth of the gunas, the modification, that is the body, mind, sense complex, as well as of the karmas, meaning that the person can distinguish between the two. The distinction, vibhaga, here is that the body, mind, sense complex is an instrument, a karana. It is not the atma. This is the viveka buddhi that one needs to have. No? The distinction between the body, mind, sense complex and the atma. I, the atma, is not the karana, the sense organs or the mind, or the karya, the physical body. While the mind and senses perform their actions, they are only karanas, instruments. Atma is not an instrument. It is the self, the content of the subject, the doer. Therefore, a distinction is to be made between the essence of the subject and the instrument. The subject and its instruments. The subject cannot be taken as an instrument because the instrument being wielded by the subject is necessarily in the hands of the subject. You are handling the body. You are handling the mind and senses. The subject cannot be taken as the very thing that it handles, just as you cannot take the spoon or fork that you eat with as yourself. That you are holding the fork in your hand does not mean that the fork is you. It is simply an instrument that you wield. Similarly, you wield your mind and senses. You operate them. You wield your physical body. You operate it. Therefore, they are merely instruments, and the doership imputed to Atma is simply a thought belonging to the mind. The one who knows the Karana as the Karana and the Atma as the Atma is the one who knows the truth of both. The one who knows the truth of Atma also knows the truth of Anatma and is therefore a Tattvavit. This then is what is meant by Guna Vibhaga. Atma is not the Karta. Atma does not perform any action. Only the Gunas perform action. Action does not come from the Atma. It emanates from the Gunas, from the Karya Karana, from the physical body, mind, and senses alone. Any fancy or desire is a modification of the mind, but you may not go along with the desire or fancy. Many desires rise and fall simply because we do not bother about them. This happens because of a particular function of the mind that enables me to decide whether to go along with the desire or not. In such a decision, there are various considerations, pragmatic and ethical considerations among others. Is this necessary for me? Is a pragmatic consideration undertaken by the Atma in the form of buddhi. With the organs of action or the sense organs, you perform karma. Whatever you do, eat, walk, or engage yourself in any kind of pursuit, some sense organ is involved. The truth of this karma, however, is that Atma is not directly involved in the activity. Atma is not a desire or a decision, nor does it desire or make decisions. Desires and decisions are always in the form of vrittis, modifications of the mind. These vrittis are Atma, no doubt, but Atma is none of them. Thus, all karma emanates from modifications of the mind, vrittis, and does not come from the Atma.
Therefore, there is a verse, no? I am in them, but I am not.
The Rajavidya,
That-
Rajagupta Yoga. Right?
yeah. That 9.4, like I think Dr. Mara
Right.
wanted
Right.
clarification. I think that is this sentence. It explains
So,
that.
the truth of this karma, however, is that Atma is not directly involved in the activity. Atma is not a desire or a decision, nor does it desire or make decisions. Desires and decisions are always in the form of vrittis, modifications of the mind. These vrittis are Atma, no doubt, because they are born of Prakriti, and Prakriti comes from Purusha. So there is they are from Atma, but Atma is none of them. Because that is only a notion, it is not real. It is the mithya. That is why Atma is none of them. Thus, all karma emanates from modifications of the mind, vrittis, and does not come from the Atma. And therefore, Atma is the non-doer. All action comes from there, but he is the non-doer. Atma is the non-doer. Everything is a modification of Prakriti alone. The one who knows the nature of karma and the nature of Atma, and therefore the distinction between the two, looks upon Prakriti as it really is. Prakriti, also called Maya, in its entirety, is the cause for everything, in that it modifies itself into everything. The body, mind, and senses are Prakriti, and the sense objects, the world, Jagat, are also Prakriti. All are modifications, gunas of Prakriti alone. And these two Prakritis are in touch with each other. One Prakriti is Karya Karana Prakriti, in the form of instruments of perception and action, and the other Prakriti is in the form of objects, Vishayatmika Prakriti. This verse explains that the gunas in the form of instruments of perception and action engage themselves in activity in the spheres of their respective objects, guneshu. This means that the eyes engage themselves in the sphere of forms, rupa, the forms being guna. Sight itself is guna, and the seen object is also guna. Similarly, hearing is guna, and the objects heard, the sounds, are also guna. In this way, these gunas, guneshu with reference to objects, vartante, engage themselves in activity. This means that I do not perform any action at all. Knowing this, the wise person is not bound. Matva na sajjate. What a beautiful perception and understanding this will be. No, if you think the eyes are just doing their job, I'm not the one doing. The ears are doing their job, I'm not the one listening. That is why it is said, who is the one? You keep questioning, who is this who is seeing? Who is this who is listening? And you keep questioning, who am I? Who am I? And then ultimately, you will get to the actual I. Karana Karanaya. He's the cause of all causes. Knowing the truth of Atma and Karma, the Tattvavit does not become attached to any karma. Such attachment is not possible because the person knows that he or she does nothing. To become attached, there must be a vritti, which is non-separate from Atma, while Atma is always free from any vritti. Because there is no connection, no attachment between the vritti and Atma, there can be no attachment to any karma for one who knows that Atma is always free. That is, for the one who knows that Atma is asangaha. This is beautiful. I'm going to read this para again. Knowing the truth of Atma and karma, the Tattvavit does not become attached to any karma. Such attachment is not possible because the person knows that he or she does nothing. To become attached, there must be a vritti, which is non-separate from Atma, while Atma is always free from any vritti. Because there is no connection, no attachment between the vritti and Atma, there can be no attachment to any karma for one who knows that Atma is always free. That is, for the one who knows that Atma is asangaha. So punaha we have to keep telling ourselves, asangoham, asangoham. So in the, I think yesterday or was it day before, where we talked about being not doing any activity for a minute or so, and Dr. Renu had mentioned that the Brahma Kumaris also do that every hour. They take a minute and do this. I think we need to come to this space of asangoham, asangoham, asangoham punah punaha. If that time,
The Brahm Gyanvali which Nana ji
yeah,
had said, na, I read it daily before starting my prayer, and like it has a cleansing property. What
very
I,
nice.
yeah, it's
Beautiful.
very, you come to yourself, oneself, like.
When Guruji tells it in the advanced course, you realize it. You realize it when you do it. Asangoham. After long meditation, that asangoham comes. Wonderful it is.
That's wonderful, Savita ji, that you're doing that every day. In fact, when you wake up, it's good to wake up to that, remember that, to chant that, or at least listen to that. It will be a good idea.
Even I also do this Pratha Smarami immediately after getting up.
Very
And
good.
then I put that Brahma Gyanavali Mala before or
Yeah.
after our session.
Very beautiful. Very nice.
I will share it in the group.
Please do. I just wanted to mention here, I happened to see someone had sent me this message. Rajeshri Patel, she's one of our very senior teachers. On her Instagram, there was one interaction I think she had with devotees where someone had asked, how do I get into this practice of sadhana? Because I'm not able to get into this, the sadhana is not becoming routine. She said, do just one thing. The moment you wake up, before you put your foot down on the floor, sit up in bed, take only 10 deep ujjayi breaths, and just take your Sahaj mantra. That's it. That is in the morning when you wake up. And in the night before you sleep, before you lie horizontally, sit up and again do the same thing. Just take 10 ujjayi breaths and take your Sahaj mantra. That's all. This is for those who are not still into a routine of sadhana, or not made their sadhana part of their life, or they're finding it difficult, they don't have time and things like that. So this little practice is so beautiful. I've actually been doing it, not that I'm not doing my sadhana, but since I've listened to it, I said, let me do this as soon as I wake up. Just sit up and do the 10 ujjayi breaths and you feel a beautiful shift. And in that space, if you listen to the Brahma Jnanavali, I think that asangaha, that sense of detachment naturally starts happening.
And while sleeping,
It was so beautiful sharing. Thank you. I will start doing it immediately from today itself. Thank you so much, Brahmaji.
Thank you. Brahmaraji, again, before sleeping, if you do this shloka, this Kayena Vacha Manasendriyarva Buddhyatmanava, that really means whatever I have done is according to my Prakriti, not this. Therefore, I surrender it and sleep. Beautifully.
Correct.
Beautiful.
Yeah. We are really so fortunate. We have such a wealth of knowledge, no? That is like, it's carrying us like babies, taking care of us like babies. All we have to do is open our eyes to this knowledge and understand it.
The last thing I do that Kayena Vacha, no?
Right.
And I sleep within a minute.
Mm.
I don't know. Just lie it. I sleep with that. Take some few breaths and Brahmari pranayama. You know?
Yeah.
That, and then you can say asatoma, or you can say Purnamidam, Purnamadam, you are Purna. And say this Kayena Vacha, you are off. That's my...
For little angels and Artexel, even yes, we tell them, chant Om before you sleep. Because it is said, Gurudev says, no, the last thought that you go to bed with is the first thought that you wake up to. So what better than just chanting Om? Om is yourself, is the Atma, is the truth of everything. So of course, it's individual choice what shlokas you chant and when you go to bed. Every shloka has its own significance. But what we talk, and see, Gurudev, right up from little angels, from 5 to 8 years, he's giving so much of Brahmagyan in such a subtle manner. Just we tell them, just chant Om 5 times before you sleep, and automatically it becomes a habit. When they wake up to that Om. And this one practice has helped. There were, in my experience, when I was taking little angels, there was a child who was having a lot of nightmares. Every night he would get up and go to his parents because he would end up having nightmares. But the first day he did this, on the first day of the course, the parents shared on the last day, there's a parent meet, they shared, we don't know what happened in this course. He's sleeping like a baby. He's not even getting up in the night. So
wow, that's so beautiful, Didi.
The Om actually has that power, that just that little practice ensures that you have sound sleep and, takes care of all these nightmares and all that. So that is again a purushartha, right? That doing we have to do. You cannot let anybody else chant and you do. I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to a chant. That's not my intention. But the Om is that purushartha, that chanting, doing Om and doing your sadhana, all that comes under purushartha. So that is where we have to.
Yeah, Didi, I just attended Chayana ji's course, advanced course. He also told the same as you told about Rajshri Patel ji. He also told the same. At least do hold on to some little thing if you are unable to do the sadhana. Like do Nadi Shodhan Pranayam at least. Okay, you tell yourself, okay, I have been busy, I couldn't do. So at least I'll do few rounds of Nadi Shodhan, or maybe Mudra Pranayam, or like you said, few Jai breaths. So if you hold on to something little by little, sadhana will by itself come to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And for all that, we need that little ahankara.
Right. A problem arises when you say you must become asanga, detached. You do not become asanga. that you are Asanga is a fact to be known. There is no becoming here. You can never become detached. What you want to be detached from is always in your head. Therefore, you can never detach from it. Even when you say you are detached from it, you are already attached because you're talking about. A person who throws away some garbage and says, I gave away my garbage, still has the garbage in his or her head. The garbage was outside and now it is inside. This is exactly how we have collected so much garbage. As the nature of Atma, detachment is already an accomplished fact. Knowing this, one is not bound. Iti matva na sajjate. The person looks upon himself or herself as a non-doer. Akarta ahamasmi. Actionlessness itself. Previously, Krishna said that by not performing an action, a person does not gain naishkarmya, the state of actionlessness. Knowing the self to be free from any type of action, doership is not there. When there is no doership, there is no karma. In this sense, knowing there is no doership, a person is free from all karma. This then is the difference between the Tattvavit and the Atattvavit. Knowing you are not a doer, what do you do? When this is so, what should you do? Suppose you know you are akarta and the other person whose welfare you are interested in takes himself or herself to be a karta. Should you tell the person not to do karma? Definitely not. If at all he or she is available for this knowledge, all you can say is Atma is akarta. This alone is the truth and anything else is a distortion of it. To tell someone not to do karma is the same as saying that performing karma is bondage. If the person still looks upon himself or herself as a karta, being deluded in this way, he or she will only become lazy, nothing more. Therefore, all you can do is tell the person to do karma, but to do it according to dharma. This much alone you can say. This is what the scriptures enjoin also. Not performing any action will eventually result in a person doing something that is not to be done. What is not proper for you is not proper for the other person also. There are universal implications inherent in all action. If you compromise with this universal fact, for example, by robbing someone else, though you yourself do not want to be robbed, you may think you can get away with it, but you cannot. This the scriptures tell us. Otherwise, we would not need a scripture. Common sense would be enough. The scripture does not need to tell me that it is wrong to rob. This I knew even as a child. When my older brother took the chocolate out of my hand, I complained to the heavens. I cried and created havoc in the house because I knew very well that he robbed what I held was mine. He took it away. Everyone is very clear on this point and does not need a scripture for it. Nor do we need someone to come and preach to us about things we already know. What the scriptures and preachers are saying, however, lest we do not know it, is that we should not think we can get away with improper actions. That is where the scripture comes in. The concept of papa and punya is what the scriptures tell us. This then is an extra revelation, extra information provided by the scripture. It says that the reason you do not get away, just 1 second. This then is an extra revelation, extra information provided by the scripture. It says that the reason you do not get away with improper actions is because there is a law that is impossible to get around. The moment you commit a wrong action, a debit is registered against your name. The whole law is based on credit and debit, both of which are automatically recorded to your account. Also, there is no way of manipulating this law. It is already programmed to record whatever action you perform. Everything has been taken care of. This law is not a computer that you, the wizard, the karta, can manipulate. You can, however, erase it by means of a different operation. This then is additional information that the scripture may talk about, because the information is revelation, something that we have no other way of knowing. The scripture is given the status of revealed knowledge. That is why for a karma yogi, you have to accept the concept of Ishvara. Ishvara here is the karma phala data. For an ethical person, just a person who is following dharma, an atheist, for instance, atheist cannot be a karma yogi. He may be a very dharmic person. He's doing everything ethically. But until and unless he recognizes Ishvara, he will not be a karma yogi. How to help others in terms of this knowledge? A person who performs action because he or she looks upon himself or herself as the karta should not be told to refrain from action because karma is bondage. It is bondage, no doubt, but telling the person so is not going to make him or her free. If, however, you really care for the person and he or she cares for your words, then you can share what you know. Otherwise, your talk will just go over the person's head. It is like someone who is interested in this knowledge trying to explain to his or her parents what he or she is studying. Because the parents do not understand, they will only ask themselves what they did wrong for their child to have been steered in such a useless direction. We must have been a little too severe, and that is why our child listens to this Swami, they may say. To attempt an explanation is only to make them feel guilty because it is impossible to convince them of the true worth of this knowledge. So that is why Krishna also says, what is that? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatapi siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschinmam veti tattvataha. So the vast majority are just karmis. They're not even exposed to this knowledge. So we should not disturb them. If they're doing karma, let them do it. But if they do show some inclination, they show some mumukshutvam, then your words will have some bearing on them. Otherwise, it will be of no use. Yeah. You may care for the welfare of those who do not understand, but they too have to care for your words. Otherwise, they will only sympathize with you, feeling that you are completely deluded. And if they do care for your words, you can tell them the truth, that Atma is Akarta. In the modern literature on Vedanta, you may read that you must become Asanga. This is why some people spend an entire lifetime trying to become Asanga. It is also sometimes said that you should experience the Asanga Atma. There is an experiencer, an object of experience, and Atma is to be experienced by another Atma who is an experiencer. All that you experience in this way is Anatma, not Atma. So this becoming Asanga is not right. You are already Asanga. You only have to, this knowledge has to reveal itself to you. Because Atma Asanga is a fact to be recognized, Krishna further cautioned the wise not to confuse those who still think of themselves as doers. Prakritir sajjante gunakarmasu Tana kritsna vido mandan kritsna vinna vichalaye. Prakritehe gunasammudaha. Those who are deluded by the modifications of the Prakriti, guna karmasu, in the modifications of body, mind, sense, complex, and actions, sajjante, become bound, tan, those people, akritsna vidaha, those who do not know totally, mandan, those who are not discriminative, kritsna vita, one who knows, na vichalayet, should not disturb. Those who are deluded by the modifications of the Prakriti become bound in the modifications of body, mind, sense, complex, and actions. One who knows the self should not disturb those who do not know the self, who are not discriminative. Here, Prakritehi Guna Sammudaha refers to those who are deluded with reference to Prakriti Guna, which are the modifications of the Prakriti. They take the self to be the body, mind, sense complex. This expression can also mean that people become deluded because of the mind and senses, their ignorance with reference to these being the origin of their problems. Looking upon themselves as doers, such people become bound, attached, sajjante, with reference to the body, mind, and senses, guna, and with reference to action, karma. To take the body, mind, and senses as oneself means I am only as good as the body, mind, and senses, with all their limitations. To think this way is bondage. The people discussed in this verse have become bound with reference to Prakriti gunas, such as the body, mind, sense complex, Karya Karana Sanghata, and also to their karmas. The bondage manifests in terms of actions such as, this is my karma and I perform it for the sake of this result. Because people experience success and failure, they are bound by the results of their action. And if they have Shraddha, Punya and Papa are also involved. Then success and failure, Punya and Papa, become the ruling factors in their lives. Thus, such people have both Drishta and Adrishta conflict, attached as they are to the seen and unseen results of their actions. The verse also tells us a little more about those who are bound in terms of guna and karma. They are described as mandas, those who have no viveka. Mandatva means dullness, the sense you have when you have indigestion, for instance, and do not feel like eating or doing anything. You develop a complete dispassion even towards foods that you like, and it lasts for as long as the discomfort lasts, at least. And if this mandatva happens in our thinking, we have a definition for the person manda discussed in this verse. Nothing ignites in the brain of such a person. There is no fire whatsoever. Although situations unfold around the person, there is no assimilation, no response. The word mandatva is used here only as a definition for the condition of the mind. It is not meant as a criticism either of oneself or of another. The word simply indicates a person who does not discriminate between Atma and Anatma. Two other words are used in the verse to make the same distinction between one who has the knowledge and one who does not. Kritsna Vitta is a wise person, one who has complete Kritsna, knowledge with reference to Atma and Anatma, whereas Akritsnavit refers to everyone else. Because the Akritsnavit does not know that he or she is not the doer, the person has problems. The Akritsnavit may understand that Anatma, The body, mind, and senses performs action, but may think of Atma as something other than himself or herself, something that is not known. Therefore, he or she has some knowledge, but does not know totally, which is the meaning of akritsnavit. I think all of us are akritsnavits, right? So we have some knowledge that we know, understand that the anatma, the body, mind, senses is different from the atma. But we still haven't come to that. Maybe some of us have, we don't know. But all those of us who do not realize that Atma is the krits, Atma is the non-doer, we are still in the akritsnavit. Ignorance is bliss only if it is total. For a person who knows nothing, there is no problem. Ignorance is bliss, as they say, provided, of course, the ignorance is total. For example, there is no problem in sleep because you do not think of yourself as a karta, bhokta, or anything else. Only when there is some knowledge is there a problem. Those who are dull, manda prajnas, who have no discrimination, viveka, with reference to atma and anatma, are referred to here as akritsnavits. These are the people that a wise person should not disturb. Tan na vichalayet, by telling them that karma will not produce moksha. They should not be told karma is all bondage. Why do you do karma? Why do you pray? Why do you go to the church or the temple? Why do you do japa and meditation? This is all nonsense. Only jnana will give you moksha. Such comments should not be made because they do not help anybody. A person should not be told not to work or that working for money is useless. Let the person work, otherwise he or she will become lazy. Such people will end up at your door telling you that you said not to make money and now they need some. People need food and place to live. Whom else will they come to but the person who told them not to make money? Therefore, do not tell them not to make money. Tell them to do so, following dharma. You can even give them some ideas on how to go about it. There is nothing wrong with making money. It is a resource, Lakshmi, and as such should not be abused. If, on the other hand, you're talking to a person who has seen that money is not an end in itself, and he or she has some viveka, then you can talk about karma yoga or sannyasa. It all depends on the person to whom you are talking. Krishna's point here was that the person should not be disturbed unnecessarily. Even a person who is a mumukshu, who has viveka, should not be indiscriminately told to take sannyasa. For someone who still has raga dveshas, sannyasa will not work. It will only be abused. Such a person should be told to perform action as a karma yogi, as Krishna told Arjuna in the next verse. So beautiful, no? The train of how Swamiji's explained the whole thing. We'll stop here and we'll do some manana on this. Oh, actually, we thought we'll stop at 6 o'clock today. We continued reading. Are you all able to hear me? Because
Yes, Brahmaraji, very nicely.
yeah, okay. Because I think Lakshmi, maybe you have a problem. Maybe you should log out and log in, Lakshmi. And also, I will need, before we do any manana, I will need some help for tomorrow. I'll be traveling tonight. So can one of you take up the session tomorrow? Maybe I will be reaching Hyderabad before 7:30. Let me see, but it's nice to have a backup because I don't want to let people be high and dry. So can one of you come forward to do the whole thing, like sharing the screen as well as taking the session? Just let me know at the end of it.
I will do Brahmaraji.
You'll be able to share, Bila. So it is
Yeah.
from verse 30 onwards, you have to continue. Maybe we can do a little bit of Manana on this as well. On the previous shloka, the Prakriter Guna Sammuda Sajjante Guna Karmasu. For me, I particularly liked the aspect of how attachment, asangaha, is not there when you're coming from for a jnani. That that attachment comes only because of the vritti. Action and desire are nothing but born out of a vritti. For a jnani, and this vritti is born of prakriti, and it is an as though being, as though duality. So because he comes from that space of non-duality, there are no vrittis, there is no modifications of the mind. And so therefore there is no attachment to karma. And this is the viveka. This viveka is so important. That is why
But asangoham is not a verb. It's a noun.
correct.
It is there. We are not
Right.
knowing it. That's it.
Yeah.
We may not have
Not
to
an
do anything.
adjective also.
Not an adjective, not it is a noun only. Means it is there.
You
It
are
is
asanga. You are.
asanga. But we are not knowing it.
And kritsnavit versus akritsnavit. And how we should not disturb the minds of people who are akritsnavit, who are in this knowledge, who do not know, who think karma is, who do not even have an inkling, who are attached, basically. Those who are attached to the prakriti and the gunas, and they're attached to the body, mind, senses, and their actions and the results of their actions. You should let them be. But if they show some inkling, they're keen to know, even a mumukshu wanting to know, then you can put them on the path of dharma. But for all the others, you tell them to continue doing karma, but in a dharmic way. That is all you can give them advice.
I think that is even good for jnani also. You should not tell them also not to leave, unless he only has to leave.
No,
No one should tell. See, even for jnani, we cannot say that you don't do any work. You have to do work. For jnani, he knows it, that he is not doing work.
You don't need to tell
So,
anything to jnani, no?
That is what I meant.
We don't, all this telling is only for ajnanis. See, the very beautiful stepwise manner in which Swamiji and Krishna has given,
good.
There are different sets of people. One set is those that are into just what is that? Artha and Kama. They're only following their pleasures and security. They want to earn money, and they're so attached to their karma, their results, and everything. For them, you tell them to follow dharma. Whatever you do, no problem at all. But do it in a dharmic way. And for the mumukshus, who have some inkling towards this knowledge, who have some knowledge about, and they want to pursue this, for them, you tell them, become a karma yogi. And even for a karma yogi, even for a mumukshu, you will not ask him to become a sannyasi directly. He has to go through and give up all his ragadveshas. Then ultimately is the sannyasi. Sannyasa is, it all depends upon, once you are ready for it, then you'll automatically take to sannyasa. But this is a beautiful stepwise manner in which we have to look at people around us. And we are also part of this people. This is what a jnani, this is how a jnani relates to the different people around him. How a Kritsnavit Set Akritsnavil. Yes, go ahead.
Hari Om.
Yeah.
Just this Sangha and Asam, a person is alone in a place and he thought there is somebody at a distance and he is trying to go and meet him. He was trying to reach, and then he goes and realizes that from a distant ray of light, it is his own shadow that is falling there at a distance. And realizes that this is nothing but my own shadow. So, what I'm trying to say here is we think that we are all separate. But once we open up ourselves inside, we find that it's all the same. It's like different candles kept in different packagings. When you remove the package, it's the same candle inside. Like that, we are all the same. Jnani already knows it. We people, we think we know it. Sometimes we think we don't know it. We are in that kind of a state whether we do not know that we know it, and we do not know that we don't know it also. We are in that kind of a state running around. And talking about attachment, detachment, the moment we are talking about that little deha bhavana the Jnani has. I personally feel that it is true, because at least if that much of bhavana you do not have, the Jnani, there is a possibility of the Jnani just dropping the body then and there. How I say, a small personal example, my grandfather, my mother's father, he was like, in the middle of all of us. He was doing a lot of bargaining. He used to go to market, just like what we do. Even in the vegetable store, he used to argue. They start saying you have to give me a good quality at a good price and all this. But I really never realized that inside he was totally a different person. And approximately 6 or 7 months ago, or maybe a couple of years before, he was just writing down his own diary, and he put one particular date somewhere in one of the pages. And he wrote something to mean that this is the end or something, which they saw after his death. And 3 4 months back, prior to his passing, he told his son, my maternal uncle, saying, in so and so month, very soon, you are having about 3,000 rupees ka expense, ra. You have to please keep ready. I'm talking about 1979. 3,000 is a big amount then. His son said, okay, no problem. He just took it with a pinch of salt, something my dad is saying. And that particular day in the morning, he was forcing everyone, okay, have your lunch, have your lunch, have your lunch. People said, no, 1 o'clock we'll have no. He said, no, aaj jara jaldi khayenge. And he made everyone eat by 12 o'clock. And at 12:15, 12:20, he said, has everyone eaten? When they confirmed, yes, everyone has eaten. Then he said, okay, I'm actually thinking there is somebody who is coming, peeping and going. I'm telling them to come a little later. The dutas are coming already. The angels are coming to take him. He could see them. I said, I'm just holding them on. Has everyone finished? They said yes. He said, okay, now just put a mat on the floor. I will sleep on the mat. They said, no, you have the bed, no? He said, no, I'm sleeping on the mat. And he took away all his clothes, just a little thin cloth on the body, and he just lied down. And he was talking about everyone, all his children, including my mother. He was in Vijayawada and we were in Hyderabad. He said, oh, now seeing Vardhani is my mother's name. seeing Vardhani is not possible maybe now. Okay. Then he said, let me just lie down. Now it is time for me to go. He was nicely talking like how we are talking now. And my uncle said, what nonsense you are talking, all this. And he said, no, you do not know. Slowly, I'm losing my pulse. And then he said, look, the feet are already cold. And my uncle said, yes, feet are already cold, but upper body was warm. He said, no, I'm just leaving. Listen to me. And last coup, he breathed 2, 3 times heavily. And the last breath out, he was out. It was so surprising. And after all the 10 days, this one Karmakanda was done, my uncle was sitting and just working out all the expenses. It was 3,010 rupees. Itna particularly, he has calculated that, okay, so now do you call it attachment or non-attachment? He was concerned that his son should not be in trouble for money when he passes. So he told him to keep 3,000 rupees ready. He pura kiya hai. He made him ready for everything and then he passed. So the moment a person, even us, if we are in this path, at some stage in our life, when we think that yes, my wife or my spouse, my children, my grandchildren, they are all in suitable places. Now I do not need to be around. Probably at that time we will also have a kind of limited autonomy to leave the body. Probably my grandfather had it. Maybe we will also have. He was also very dharmic. Dharmic in the sense, okay, he was behaving as if he was in the material world, but inside he probably was a different person, which I feel till today, which uh, which is really astonishing. I thought I'll share this with you all. Probably we will also be like that if we are on the proper path. Yeah, Hari Om.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prem. Very
It was
nice.
so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you,
Dhanyavad.
friend, for sharing this. Very thanks to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Prem. It was really wonderful.
Yeah,
I had
Hari Om, because
even my
I thought we
grandfather,
should.
I have seen.
Yeah, continue.
Even my grandfather, I have seen that I am going. Everyone chant Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, put me some water, and all that he went up. I have seen that with my eyes when I was about, I think, 10 or 11 years. But these are very, very good. And he was also a very leader, apt leader, everything attached to the family and all that. But within himself, he was completely a saint type. Wonderful it is. Good.
Yeah, so having attachment is not wrong, but with the awareness that this attachment is not permanent. Like, having the physical pleasures. I like a gulab jamu, I want to eat it. Or I like something else. I like staying with my family. I like sitting with my spouse or children, having nice time and all that. You should not look at it as attachments. These are your bounden duties because you came with one set of functions. You have accepted certain things. And having married, you should not say, Are re galti ho gaya. No, you are into it. You entered a tunnel. See the end of it in a proper way. Don't keep struggling to move sideways. The tunnel is a tunnel. You have to pass through. Pass through with a smile. Haste gaate niklo. That is what you have to think. That's it. I think that is the trick. That is what Krishna tells us. Having come, enjoy. Enjoy means I'm not saying drink, do that, go to pub, go to pub. No. Enjoy every moment of life. Kashtam, enjoy. Sukham, enjoy. Everything. Remember, this also will pass. Remember, this also will. The best thing, you got $1 billion lottery, that sukham, that happiness will pass. You are blamed that you have done something hugely wrong either at home or in the office or in the society.
Your voice is breaking a lot, Phil.
for no fault of yours.
Yeah.
To get $1 billion lottery, you have to be
Our
with
advance
the
course.
awareness. Enjoy your $1 billion. There's no one asking you not to do, but with the awareness that this is only a phase. And like, having a nice, cozy time spending with your family, with your children, having a wonderful, beautiful time. And when it is the time that the next working day comes, or the children have to go back to their respective countries, wherever they are staying or studying, so when you are having a very good time, realize that this is a phase. Don't regret that, this will get finished tomorrow, kids are leaving. No, when you are there with the realization that tomorrow they are leaving, enjoy today. That is the trick. That is the realization with which we have to live. That is what is called enjoying this moment. Enjoy this moment. Do not simply keep on cribbing. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. You are asking me to do this. I have to do this for you. I have to do that. No, do it with a smile. I know you, and you should know that is also a passing phase. That is what we need to think, because these are all phases, and I'm going to live through them with a nice smile and a mind of equipoise. Equipoise, we all learn in our happiness course. So many things are there. That equipoise, I will not allow that to get imbalanced. We all must have seen this punching toy, bachpan mein, in childhood. I think even now there will be a toy for children. The children push it, the toy falls flat on the ground, but ting, bolke, with a small bell music, it will come up again. You push it, it will go down, and it will come up. Kids will be laughing and they'll be playing with it. We should be like that toy. Something that is very centered in the toy. How much ever the outside forces try to imbalance us, throw us out of balance, we just fall down, come up. Swami Chinmayananda was saying, falling down is okay. Fall, nobody cares. But when you fall, don't fall like a lump of mud and get disintegrated into a powder. Fall down like that rubber ball, which bounces back with more vigor, more power, and to double the distance, it jumps up. That is how we have to think. And if you just keep that in your mind, the divine will give you the strength. This is what I feel we should believe and get on accordingly. Hari Om.
That is the Kannada song, no? Adisi nodu, bidisi nodu, urali hogadu. That song, similarly. It is always centered, even if you disturb it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we?
Dhanyavad Premiya for wonderful, inspiring session. Brahmaraji, I'm really sorry, Kshamyatam. Kal maine bola committed, but I will not be able to do. I forgot that I will be in my parents' home.
Okay, no problem. Let's see. We'll find out a solution. Mostly, I may be able to. I'm going to Hyderabad to spend some time with Manana. So if I reach home by 7:30 India time, I should be able to do. I don't know what time my flight is reaching there. If not, we'll see. We'll work it out. Otherwise, there will be a message on the group. Mostly, we'll be able to do it. Not an issue.
I can do it, Brahmaraji.
You can do, Rina?
Yeah, I can share definitely. If someone wanting to volunteer to read, or I read.
You can read. You can read.
Okay, all right.
You can read.
Where have we stopped now?
We've stopped at verse number 30, page number 483.
Okay. Would you mind sharing the same chapter to me, because must have gone into so many. Yeah.
No problem. I'll share the PDF with you.
Okay.
You can
thank you.
keep that ready and then we'll do it. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Dhanyavad, Mrinal dear.
Yeah. No problem. Does anyone want to share anything else before we move, before we close today? I think these are very important verses for us to ruminate and understand, especially the fact of the Atma and Anatma, and how the Jnani versus the Ajnani, the Karya Karana Sanghata, how Prakriti Purusha, all that very beautiful aspects for us to do Nididhyasana, to contemplate.
And Asangoham.
Jnanavali will be a beautiful asset in this. If we can all wake up to that beautiful stotra and revel in that, that will be good.
And Asangoham.
Asangoham, yeah. Right. All right. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Dhanyavad. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.